Russia claims capture of key city of Pokrovsk in eastern Ukraine. UK pulls $1 billion support for Mozambique gas project. Good afternoon, Salam Malaysia Badani. I'm Brenda Paul. Russia says its forces have captured the eastern Ukrainian city of Pokrovsk, a major logistic hub, as well as the northeastern city of Vovchansk. The claims were announced on the Kremlin's Telegram channel, increasing pressure on Kyiv as it pushes for US support in ongoing negotiations to end the war. Pokrovsk, a key road and rail junction in the Donetsk region, had a pre-war population of about 60,000 and has faced months of heavy Russian attacks. Ukraine sent reinforcement, including special forces, last month, but Moscow says its troops managed to infiltrate the city. The Kremlin said military chief Valery Gerasimov briefed President Vladimir Putin on the liberation of Pokrovsk and Vovchansk. The defense ministry released video claiming to show Russian troops raising their flag in Pokrovsk Central Square. If confirmed, the capture would complicate Ukraine's supply lines and expose a nearby Ukrainian garrison to possible encirclement. Vovchansk in the Kharkiv region has been heavily damaged by fighting since May 2024. Russia's defense minister called its fall an important step toward victory. Britain's government said on Monday it would no longer provide Total Energy with a loan for a gas project in Mozambique that the French group halted over an organized attack. Its decision to withhold up to $1.15 billion of funding for the liquefied natural gas project, LNG, comes after a consortium led by Total Energy announced in October that it would lift a suspension on the work imposed in 2021 because of the deadly violence. Total Energy lifted the force majeure it had declared after the siege and sought $4.5 billion in cost overruns linked to the delay to be covered by Mozambique government. The company, which owns 26.5% of the project, has said it hopes to resume production at the gas site in 2029, subject to the African country's approval of its new budget plan. The UK government, meanwhile, remains committed to backing British exporters. Mozambican and international NGOs have accused Total Energy of holding Mozambique hostage over the French group's demands of ultra-favorable conditions to restart its gas project in the country's restive northeastern Cabo Delgado province. United States military aircraft were active at the former Roosevelt Roads Naval Base in Puerto Rico on Monday. Video showed U.S. Marine Corps AV-8B Harrier II jets taking off after arriving last week as the United States steps up pressure on Venezuelan President Nicolas Maduro's government. President Donald Trump had earlier declared that the airspace above and around Venezuela should be considered completely closed without providing further details. Now, the statement sparked anxiety and confusion in Caracas as his administration intensified efforts against Maduro. When asked whether his comments signal imminent strikes on Venezuela, Trump expressed indifference, saying to not read anything into it. The Trump administration has been weighing options related to Venezuela, citing what it describes as Maduro's role in supplying illegal drugs that have killed Americans. The socialist leader has denied any involvement in the drug trade. An Ebola outbreak in the Democratic Republic of Congo is now over. Congolese health officials and the UN's World Health Organization made the announcement on Monday after the country went 42 consecutive days without recording a new case. The outbreak, declared on 4th September after the disease was identified in the Bulape health zone in Congo's Kasai province, was the country's first since 2022. The Congolese Health Ministry stated that out of a total of 64 cases, 45 people died and 19 others recovered. From the early days of the outbreak, Congo used a revamped national surveillance system to enable authorities to rapidly map the affected area and contain transmission. According to the statement, Congo will now begin a 90-day period of enhanced disease surveillance. Now, based on information from the WHO, the Ebola outbreak was the Central African nation's 16th since the disease was first identified in 1976. There have been no new cases since 25th September, and the last Ebola patient was discharged on 19 October. West African leaders pressed Guinea-Bissau's coup officers on Monday to restore constitutional order, urging them to allow the release of election results from the disputed November presidential vote. It marks ECOWAS's most direct attempt yet to reverse the military takeover in a country long troubled by political instability and drug trafficking networks, and comes as the bloc faces mounting pressure to halt a series of recent coups across the region. Leaders from the ECOWAS bloc, led by Sierra Leone's President Julius Maada Bio, held tense talks in Bissau with the officers who seized power last week. Sierra Leone's Foreign Minister Timothy Musa Kaba said ECOWAS demanded the restoration of constitutional order and the logical conclusion of the electoral process. Nigeria has offered opposition candidate Fernando Diaz protection at its embassy in Bissau after he reported threats to his life. The military-installed interim president, Major General Horta Inta, has defended the coup as a move to prevent narco-traffickers from influencing the state and announced a one-year transition. The junta has banned protests and strikes after weekend demonstrations in Bissau called for the release of detained opposition leaders and publication of the election results.
Komputer untuk lebih penjimatan.
In Bangladesh, a new government commission has concluded that former Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina ordered the deadly 2009 mutiny that left 74 people dead, most of them senior army officers. Bangladesh inquiry links Hasina to the massacre in 2009 army revolt. The two-day revolt by members of the Bangladesh Rifles erupted weeks after Hasina took office, shaking her newly formed government. She was ousted last year in a student-led uprising and has since taken refuge in India, refusing court orders to return. The interim administration under Muhammad Yunus reopened the case, and on Sunday, the commission reported that Hasina's government was directly involved. It named former MP Fazli Nur Taposh as the principal coordinator, acting on what it described as Hasina's green signal. The commission also alleged involvement of a foreign force with its chief, ALM Fazlur Rahman, later accusing India of trying to weaken the Bangladesh army, a claim New Delhi has not yet responded to. A previous inquiry conducted under Hasina's rule had blamed the revolt on long-standing grievances among soldiers, but the critics argued that she orchestrated the mutiny to consolidate power. Turkish President Recep Tayyip Erdogan has condemned recent drone attacks on two oil tankers near Turkey's Black Sea coast, calling the strikes a worrying escalation. Now, the tankers, the Virat and the Kairos, were hit by explosions late Friday, with the Virat struck again early Saturday. Erdogan calls Black Sea drone strike a worrying escalation. A Ukrainian security source told the news agency that Kyiv was behind the attacks, alleging the ships were secretly transporting Russian oil in violation of Western sanctions. Erdogan said Turkey cannot accept attacks that threaten navigation, the environment, and lives within its exclusive economic zone. He warned that the Russia-Ukraine conflict has now reached a point that endangers Black Sea shipping. He added that Ankara is issuing warnings to all parties and is monitoring the situation closely, stressing Turkey's willingness to contribute to efforts aimed at ending the war. Both vessels flagged under Gambia are sanctioned as part of Russia's so-called shadow fleet used to skirt oil export restrictions. Turkey has maintained ties with both Moscow and Kyiv throughout the conflict and controls the Bosphorus Strait, a critical route for Ukrainian grain and Russian oil moving to the Mediterranean. Q on Monday confirmed the deaths of 33 people from mosquito-borne illnesses in recent months in an epidemic that has impacted at least one-third of the population. Its Deputy Minister of Health, Carilda Peña, said 12 people had died of dengue and 21 of chikungunya, the two viruses circulating widely across the Caribbean island nation. At least 21 of those who died were under the age of 18, but the minister did not specify a date range for the mortalities. The deaths and still raging epidemic are more bad news for Cuba, whose health care system is already facing existential struggles amid a grueling economic crisis that has prompted widespread shortages of food, fuel, and medicine. Dengue fever has long plagued Cuba, but has grown worse as shortage of funds and fuel hampers the government's ability to fumigate, clean roadside trash, and patch leaky pipes. Chikungunya, once rare on the island, has also spread quickly in recent months. There is no specific treatment for chikungunya, which is spread primarily by Aedes mosquito species, also a carrier of dengue, and Zika. Health Vice Minister Peña reported 5,717 new cases of chikungunya in the last week, though the government has acknowledged many cases go undetected because most patients do not require hospitalization. ICC vows to stand firm amid US sanctions and threats. Stay with us.
Tutup tingkap dan pintu untuk kekal dingin dan lebih jimat.
Welcome back. The International Criminal Court, ICC, has delivered a firm message of independence as it faces unprecedented pressure from the United States. ICC President Tomoko Akane opened the ICC Assembly in The Hague, declaring the court will never accept any kind of pressure from anyone. She stressed that its only loyalty is to the Rome Statute and international law. The statement comes after US President Donald Trump imposed sanctions on several ICC judges and prosecutors, angered by arrest warrants issued for Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu over the war in Gaza. Although neither the US nor Israel is a member of the ICC, the court ruled in 2021 that it has jurisdiction over the Palestinian territories. Today, 125 countries remain parties to the court, but 4, including Hungary, have signaled plans to withdraw. France reiterated its unwavering commitment to the ICC, while the European Union said it stands firm in defending the tribunal against threats and sanctions. The court is also grappling with internal challenges as Chief Prosecutor Karim Khan is on extended leave, pending an investigation into sexual abuse allegations, which he denies. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky has arrived in Dublin for his first official visit to Ireland. Zelensky and First Lady Olena Zelenska were welcomed on the runway at Dublin Airport by Taoiseach Michael Martin and Minister of State Thomas Byrne. During the one-day visit, Zelensky will hold bilateral talks with the Taoiseach and pay a courtesy call on Ireland's newly inaugurated President, Catherine Connolly, at Aras Nocturne. He is also expected to address both houses of parliament, the Dáil and the Senate. The Ukrainian leader will later join Minister Simon Harris and Foreign Minister Helen McEntee at the inauguration of the Ireland-Ukraine Economic Forum. The Irish government says the visit underscores the very close and warm relations between the two countries. Ireland has received more than 120,000 Ukrainian refugees since Russia's invasion in 2022. While some have returned home, an estimated 80,000 remain in the country. Elsewhere, police spoke to Luigi Mangione in a McDonald's restaurant for more than 30 minutes before arresting him for allegedly gunning down a United Healthcare executive. The details were seen in videos played on Monday during state court hearings over whether prosecutors can use his police statements at his murder trial. The videos, as well as audio of an emergency call to police by a McDonald's worker, have not previously been played publicly. Mangione, 27, was arrested in December 2024 and charged with fatally shooting United Healthcare CEO Brian Thompson on a sidewalk in Midtown Manhattan. Public officials condemned the shocking assassination. Mangione became a folk hero to some Americans who decry steep healthcare costs. He has pleaded not guilty to murder and other charges and is expected to face trial next year. Mangione has pleaded not guilty in a separate federal case where prosecutors plan to seek the death penalty. The 27-year-old could face life in prison if convicted of murder in the second degree, which is defined as an intentional killing. He also faces 7 counts of criminal possession of a weapon and 1 count of possessing a false identification. At least 12 people, including 3 children, were killed in Peru on Monday after a landslide sank 2 boats at a river port in the central Amazon region. The vessels were docked at the port of Iparia in Ucayali when the riverbank gave way at dawn, sending both boats underwater. Authorities say one of the boats was carrying around 50 passengers, while the second had none on board. Navy officials said 9 bodies have been recovered so far, with 25 people injured and as many as 40 still missing. Rescue teams are working with families at the scene to confirm how many people remain unaccounted for. Footage from local media showed passengers running along the riverbank as luggage and cargo drifted in the fast-moving water. The National Emergency Centre said the collapse was caused by erosion of the riverbank, worsened by flood season conditions and thick fog. The Peruvian Navy has deployed search teams, but the operation is being hampered by strong currents and whirlpools in the Ucayali River. Tens of thousands of people have taken to the streets in Bulgaria, escalating a wave of anti-government and anti-corruption protests as the country prepares to join the Eurozone. The demonstrations began last week in Sofia over the draft 2026 budget, which critics say hides deep-rooted corruption. On Monday, the country saw the largest rally in years, with crowds filling the square outside Parliament and demanding the government resign. After the main protest ended, clashes erupted when masked demonstrators threw stones, bottles and firecrackers at the headquarters of the DPS party, which supports the ruling coalition. Police responded with tear gas and made several arrests. A nearby office of the GERB party was also vandalized. President Rumen Radev condemned the violence, calling it a provocation by the mafia. Protests were also reported in several other cities. The government is set to revise the 2026 budget this week, after promising to remove contested measures such as higher social security contributions. Bulgaria will be joining the Eurozone on 1st January next year, and this will be its first budget calculated in euros.
MyCard bukan sekadar kad pengenalan, tetapi medium utama yang menghubungkan rakyat dengan pelbagai perkhidmatan kerajaan dan swasta. Banyak insentif kerajaan disalurkan melalui MyCard, daripada bantuan kebajikan, kemudahan kesihatan hinggalah pelbagai program rakyat. Inilah keistimewaan yang dimiliki oleh setiap warga negara Malaysia. Sila periksa keadaan MyCard anda. Sekiranya chip rosak, hilang atau MyCard sudah uzur, segera lakukan penggantian di Jabatan Pendaftaran Negara agar hak dan kemudahan anda sentiasa terjamin. Inilah komitmen madani. Dengan dokumen identiti yang sah, moden dan diyakini, rakyat disantuni sebaiknya. MyCard, identiti anda, kebanggaan negara.
In sports, Atletico gear up for Barcelona clash as Simeone urges strength at Camp Nou. Stay tuned.
Sukan Sea Thailand 2025. Jangan lupa saksikannya hanya di RTM. Yahoo! Semangatnya sudah terasa. Nantikannya hanya di RTM. Penyiar Rasmi.
And talking about the SEA Games, let's begin the sports segment with local news following the floods in Thailand. The relocation of 10 SEA Games 2025 events from Songkhla to Bangkok is expected to increase costs for the national contingent. The Secretary-General of the Olympic Council of Malaysia, OCM, Datuk Muhammad Nasir Ali, said the situation will certainly put pressure on national sports associations, especially athletes under Category B.
Memangnya dengan pemindahan daripada Songkhla ke Bangkok memang akan melibatkan kos, utamanya kos penerbangan kan, dan juga kos transport lah. Termasuk mungkin hotel. Jadi semua ini sedang dikaji semula oleh Majlis Sukan Negara dan pihak OCM memang kita berbincang. Jadi saya rasa dari segi kos kita masih menetapkan kategori A, B punya formula lah. Jadi untuk kategori A, Majlis Sukan Negara akan membiayainya. Dan untuk kategori maka mungkin pihak-pihak persatuan terpaksa mencari sumber-sumber dana untuk menampung penambahan kos ini.
According to him, OCM will discuss the matter with the National Sports Council to address the issue. He added the organisers, Thailand, are also prepared to cover part of the additional costs. And in football, Atletico Madrid carried on training preparations on Monday, a day out from their La Liga trip to Barcelona, with coach Diego Simeone stressing that his players would have to be strong if they were to compete at the Camp Nou.
Un ataque increíble, que tiene una forma de juego posicionado y de individualidades muy importantes, y que tendremos que estar fuertes en esa faceta para poder competir. Seguimos en nuestro mismo pensamiento, en seguir mejorando como equipo, en seguir trabajando para que podamos evolucionar, y el margen de mejora creo que mucho más de lo que estamos mostrando.
Simeone added that his side must seize on any uncertainty in Barca's game to extend their winning run across all competitions to 8 matches. Atletico sit 4th in the league standings, just 3 points behind leaders Barcelona, and a victory would tighten the race at the top. Barca, who have shown signs of vulnerability in recent weeks, including a 3-3 draw away to Club Brugge and a 3-0 loss at Chelsea in the Champions League, will be looking to reaffirm their dominance at home. FIFA has announced the draw procedures for the 2026 World Cup, which will see Spain and Argentina, as well as France and England, avoid meeting each other until the semi-finals. Now, this is on the condition that all 4 teams top their respective groups. According to FIFA, these powerhouse teams will be placed in separate sections of the knockout bracket, ensuring they do not clash too early in the tournament. The decision is aimed at maintaining competitive balance in the 48-team format. Now, the draw will take place on 5th December in Washington, while the full schedule, including stadiums and match times, will be released on 6th December. The 2026 World Cup, co-hosted by the United States, Canada and Mexico, will be the first edition to feature 48 teams and will include 104 matches. Canada will host 13 matches, including 10 group stage games split evenly between Toronto and Vancouver. Mexico will also host 13 matches, including 10 group stage fixtures in Mexico City, Guadalajara and Monterrey. The remaining matches will be held in 11 cities across the United States. The final is scheduled for 19 July at MetLife Stadium in New Jersey. And in tennis, Rafael Nadal received the AS Legend Award, honoring the 22-time tennis Grand Slam champion's career at the AS Sports Awards in Madrid on Monday. Nadal was amongst a host of sporting stars at the annual awards evening organised by the Spanish publication AS. He was also asked about the chances of going against his greatest rival, Roger Federer.
No lo sé, yo creo que ahora mismo si eso ocurriera, pues será un poquito más hacia adelante. Está un año sin jugar, necesitaré un tiempo de preparación. Pero bueno, seguro que en el futuro si aparecen la posibilidad de que nos divirtamos, nos motive un proyecto conjunto y lo pasemos bien y se junten pues una serie de factores que lo hagan posible, pues seguro que algo ocurrirá y ya hemos hablado vagamente de ello en el pasado y ya veremos lo que sucede.
Other winners included 7 times MotoGP champion Marc Marquez, Indy 500 winner Alex Palou, with footballers past and present Rafael Varane, Jesus Navas, Fernando Torres and Raul receiving Career Achievement Awards. And that wraps up World Today. In our top story, UK pulls $1 billion support for Mozambique gas project. Tune in to Malaysia Tonight, coming up 8:30 p.m. on TV1 and Soloran Berita RTM. Alternatively, you can stream us live on RTM Click's website and mobile application. Till then, I'm Brendan Lepore. Salam Malaysia Berani and have a great day. Take care.
Menyesal. Kalau masa tu boleh putar balik,